We saw them on the low ground a couple seconds ago, and now having to play catch up as they run and try to wrap round the zone back towards the front of it.
Yeah, luckily for them, they preemptively popped the slurp juice, knowing they were going to have to stagger themselves in the zone if they wanted a safe rotation. Still yet to make it there, but you see them going up a few layers before that is going to be a possibility. High ground still being held by Abib and Skittles. Contested for a short moment before they immediately drop back down. Rise users, they're trying to gain this beast control. They have another team towards the low ground. They're trying to make it a focus. They're trying to stay ahead of them as well. Block off their path. Give them no way to go but out.
So good. I just picturing teams in and making them feel uncomfortable in these end games. But now it's about finding a clear layer, finding some space, because you don't want to be caught running in the back. One of the few end games we've got to see them together in the past couple games, and so let's make them. Most of it is what they'll be thinking as they jump on in. Rise jumping into boxes. He's the aggressive one right now. You expect to see User making those kind of plays, but Rise will never shy away. And again, running back into the zone, wrapping around where they can.
Yeah, truly showing that both of these players are a jack of all trades. They just play into their specialty, and it didn't work last game, but Kanata and Azers try again. They have the high ground for now, but can they hold on to it to the very end? Rise being forced back, trying to aid User. They're both getting backed up. Multiple shots coming in from different angles, but he makes the smart play to disengage, stay ahead of all this madness. You don't want to fall behind the curve, especially with the zone moving up the mountain.
You see them now focusing their attention to these players in the back. Big shots from Rise, trying to connect with more. But he has to wait a moment. Now jumping up, players falling down. Both these players getting split for a moment. Rise, you need to use the med miss, not a big pot, my friend. And make his way back forward. Users claiming space, and so when Rise does eventually get back into the zone, if he can get back into the zone, there will be a tarp waiting for him. And he needs to try and dodge these players, but he doesn't want to dodge anything. He wants to just fight, and fight is what he'll do. Convict gets taken out by Rise. And that might not be the last player to fall down at his hands. User finally falls. They weren't able to get to each other, and that really did cost him. But now it's up to Rise to continue these solo heroics.
Yeah, win or lose, Rise has dealt so much damage to the leaderboard. But Kanata and Agers, it's their chance to shine, their chance to rise up the leaderboard to 2v2, and they have every advantage in the book, including all the heals. But Agers, he's playing it slow. He's out of materials. The Breacher coming out from Kanata, trying to cause destruction, cause some confusion, not let Bryce and Chubbs know exactly where they're coming from, as Kanata once again staying ahead of the zone. The heals, very, very minimal, if any at all. So it's now or never. You have to finish the fight. Chubbs gets dropped, so does Bryce. Kanata and Agers, toe-to-toe, they take the game.
I said I wanted to see the signature win from them today, and they gave it to me in game number 5. Jacob, these guys have been so consistent throughout the day. No other team has really been as consistent as these guys when it comes to making it to end games. But finally, securing the victory royale and doing it in emphatic fashion as well. Look at some of these shots Agers was hitting from above.
Yeah, it's huge for them to be able to take this game in the fashion that they did, because we saw Baka and Pars go down. We saw a lot of solo play. They started the game in 4th place at 172 points. This is a huge moment of opportunity for them to possibly get 2nd or even 1st, because you got to also take note, Rise and User also stayed to the very end of that game. With the leaderboard this close, who knows who's on top?
Yeah, look, I really want to know who's on top, so I'm going to send it to the analyst to quickly break it all down so we can see that leaderboard and see who's on top.
Thank you guys so much. Game number 5 is all done. And after game number 1, Agers and Kanata, they said 2nd place was not good enough. We would like to add a victory royale to the day and come back here in game number 5 to lock it down. And with 8 eliminations, they want that 1st place spot, Vivid. They are saying, this is our day. We need to push it. We need to treat this like a grand finals coming up, because we have to make sure we're going to globals.
You said it, they want that 1st place spot, but 1st place spot will be the question. Who actually is going to find themselves up on top? But Kanata and Agers found themselves on top of the lobby this game, and finally we see them on height with enough materials to kind of survive throughout the rest of the lobby, apply enough pressure to deny access to anybody trying to contend it, because I feel like every single time we tune into them, in whatever endgame they were in, they were kind of looking towards high ground, or they had it at one point during the game.
Yeah, of course, last game they were a little bit more scuffed, so they actually, improved over that last game and improved their material management and, of course, those refreshes. But ultimately, up on the high ground, it was that breacher shotgun from Canada that really just kept them applying the pressure onto the players down below. Nobody had a chance at even looking up at the high ground because they were just getting constantly fired down. Canada was doing a great job at that. He spoke about it as well, the Mammoth pistol at the beginning of the show. He likes to use that as well, and even using it in conjunction with the breacher shotgun. It's a match made in heaven, and what a fantastic win for them.
That's right. Okay, I've gotten word. Standings are coming up, but really quickly, let's set the stage here for you. Remember, we're playing 6 games. Then at the end of the day, wherever a duel places, they will look to put points on the series point leaderboard. After 3 weeks of that, they take the top 50, and they go to grand finals. So right now, crucially, many duos have to try and find themselves in that top 10 if they want to hope to be in a good spot to make grand finals. With that said, let's take a look at the standings. Let's see how things are going. A single game left to go here, and NA, and it all could be the difference. Now, User and Rise, remember, if maybe you're just tuning in, you missed the first 5, welcome. Don't miss out on this last game. But these guys have held the lead. They missed qualification in Major number 1. They want to end the day in first place because that would be huge for the duo. Now, also, Agers and Canada, they're creeping up, right, Vivid? After that Victory Royale, after those 8 eliminations, they're saying, look, first place, you're not that far away. You slip up, it's going to be ours.
Yeah, I mean, but let's talk about User and Rise, right? Because, games 3 and 4 were a little bit of slip-ups, but finally they're back in form, right? Finishing game number 5 right there, 3rd place, 6 eliminations. But the thing for me is that it was a complete switch-up in terms of the playstyle. I mean, we've seen them consistently look for the high ground throughout the day when they've made it to the end game. But look at their position right here. They're completely on the low ground, and they just worked the boxes around them and looked for eliminations throughout the entirety of this end game, and they still had so many heals and so many mats to work with.
Yeah, they did. And this is the result of when they're both alive in the end game. In the last couple of games, we've seen one of them go down and one of them have to clutch up in the latter stages of the game. But although they did get a little bit split here, they got a little bit sort of separated from each other, but Rise managed to clutch up with some crazy eliminations. It's all about staying together. It's all about staying alive in this end game. And when they are together at the end game, these are the results.
Man, I'm stressed. I'm already stressing out, okay? Classic Zeke, let's just stress out in game number 6. Why not? Let's go back to the standings. Let's call out a few more things here. More duos to look at. Of course, break down what they pulled off here in game number 5. Take a look. Acorn and Cold. Hey, jumping up 2 places. Okay, I'm down for that, right? Now, remember, these guys, they're already through. They have their global spot. They're fine. But now they want to turn attention to everyone else and just say, hey, listen, we can play spoiler on you. We can make sure we gatekeep you a little bit. Now, if this is globals, Vivid, do you think that right now they are in proper form to compete with all of the regions that will be at LAN?
Acorn or Cold, I mean, yeah, I feel like this game, throughout some of these games right now, they're probably just having a little bit of fun, right? They're just kind of running around. So the performance probably isn't the best or what, they can definitely do in each and every single one of these games. But I think we sold our full form in game number 2 there, where they did get that victory around. They had 12 eliminations.
Yeah, we've seen them adapt a lot today as well. Those mid-game rotations, we've seen them be their demise earlier on. So they've actually adapted. They've actually learned from how the meta has shifted and how things have played out, especially with those Mammoth pistols. They've already had a few issues with those at the beginning. So now they're actually finding out how to make it to the end game successfully together as a duo. And it's just incredible.
And I love that too. Jacob kind of called that out at the beginning of the game, right? Some duos, they're still trying to adjust to the Mammoth, right? They're kind of used to playing this old play style, but you have to be cautious. Now, one more time, those standings, we've seen that top 10. I think we kind of need to kind of set the stage because remember, we still have 11 through 20 to talk about as well. Only a couple more minutes here before we jump back into all of the action. I'm hyped. Vivid, are you excited? Because I'm stressing. Stress levels are through the roof, bro.
I feel like when we're looking at the leaderboard, the top 5 teams, right, they've all pretty much made it into grand finals at this point because they had, solid finishes in week number 1 and now week number 2 as we go into game number 6. But yeah, a lot of those teams got to step it up. We talked about, teams earlier on where they didn't play together in week number 1. So they have 0 series points for that week.
I mean, something that I noticed about the leaderboard as well, it was Rise and User. They have 15 of those objective points. That's the difference for them at the moment. So they're actually able to get that vault more often than not. And for them, it's working out.
Well, this is it. One final game, objectives, victory royales, eliminations. No one can make a mistake. Let's do it. This is the final game of week number 2 in NA.
It is time, Levin. It is the final countdown, the last go around from teams, and what was once a close leaderboard has spread out just a little bit more.
Yeah, look, we're looking at all these teams and we're going, you know what, you're the usual suspects. You're the ones we expect to be doing well. But it's been interesting to see how throughout the day, different teams have sort of popped up at different times with their breakout performances, and others have stayed consistent throughout the day. But ultimately, it all comes down to this last game now, as it is so close up there.
Yeah, and without Surge Week, this major, it's those top 50 teams, and that's why you're seeing the fight. Even at the lower half of the leaderboard, every placement means so much if you want to make that grand finals. And who will get that auto qualification in this week? We'll find out as Game 6 begins.
The final chance to lock in your series points before we head into the last week of qualifiers. There are some teams within NA right now who know their chances of an FNCS final this major are done. There are a lot of teams in this lobby who know that they will be playing in the grand finals as long as this last game isn't completely shambolic. And for Ryzen user, they finally have warded off the console team that has been contesting them all day long. And so it won't be 6-0 off spawn. It will just be 5, as that sick fight won't even happen. But I guess you can attribute this win to them, right? They've pushed them out of the way, Jacob. And so maybe we'll just say it's been 6-0 off spawn just for that reason.
That's kind of what I said was to happen. It's literally up to them if they get shut out or not. And I like to switch up in the last game and talked about the importance of the series points, even all the way down that leaderboard. So Peterbot quickly gets back up. Quanti losing his teammate, so his game just got exponentially harder. It doesn't look like he's ready to give up the chase just yet. Has a good amount of loot, has a good amount of materials as well. He's ready to fight for it all, especially in these final moments. And this is a challenge, a tough one that he's willing to take. Larson and Peterbot trying to stabilize themselves here in this position. We see them just holding on to their pieces. Peterbot popping a couple minis to get the shields back up, and that's not going to stop Quanti from dropping down low, changing targets. That might have been a mistake, but both of them are weak. Larson peeks back through. He gets the knock onto one. Can he get the siphon? That is so important with Peterbot getting back down little by little. He gets it to come through, and Quanti with the clutch.
That is what you want to see from Quanti. Making his former duo pay. Spitting right in his face, yeah. You want to drop me? Here's a taste. That drum shotgun, oh my goodness. You don't get to see it getting used often. But when it is used, well, it can be devastating. He should have won this. Ring around the rosies dancing around those builds. And Quanti makes it happen.
That siphon, that split-second hesitation from Peterbot to kind of rush in before the siphon was picked up truly was the difference, but the Lonely Labs battle continues. Blake feeling the hurt, feeling the pain of the Mammoth. Gonna allow for 20 to run wild. Macwood by himself. Luckily for him, it's just a lever. It's not going to be able to one-shot him just yet, but it is a 2v1. The pressure from all angles. Macwood gets dropped first. Blakewood, he's trying to return. He's trying to lend that helping hand, but is it too little, too late? Gotta imagine all the heals. 20 full health. Pledge getting there. He's ready to challenge. Blake's trying to battle with the high ground, but it's just not enough. The trades that is going through is just whittling Blake down little by little by little, making this near impossible for him to try to survive with the medkit attempt. He needs 6 seconds. 20 and Pledge know it. They don't want to give him any time to work with. The side shot goes through, but Blake goes down.
Brilliantly done from 20 and Pledge. And they will wrap up the day as the victors of Lonely Labs here in this game. But the fighting don't stop, Jacob. All across the map, we've seen a bunch of fights all throughout the day happen relatively quickly, and it's Poyo and Sphinx now up against Bucky and Okis. And for Poyo and Sphinx especially, with just how high they are positioned in the leaderboard, this fight is make or break. They cannot afford to slip up here.
Yeah, even though from last game to this, it's spread up just a little bit, but they're down 20 points from second place, 31 from third place. It's definitely achievable in this game, and this could be the battle that starts it all. But the opponents they're going against, Bucky and Okus, some heavy hitters in this lobby. They know how to fight with the best of them. So it's not a battle you do want to take lightly. Boyo and Sphinx just pausing, trying to formulate some sort of strategy. What's the play going to be for them? And you see in your mini-map, Okus and Bucky, they just completely disengaged. They don't want any more of it. They're not getting the shots that they want. So they're out of here. Ooh. Ready for that peek. It's like he warmed him up for it. Peppered him, begging him to shoot back, and as soon as he does, just a massive haymaker of a shot. And those are the risky scenarios you end up in when going up against the Mammoth.
How many times are we going to talk about the Mammoth today?
As long as they keep letting.
As long as it keeps happening. Through the 5 games, there have been 79 pistol eliminations in NA compared to 71 in EU.
Okay. That's a little scary how not only are they opting to drop the AR overall, but the huge increase in overall eliminations, and you're going to see that progressively kind of increase.
I bet you if you made like a graph of just pistol eliminations throughout the year in all FNCSs, you would just have a massive spike this week compared to the rest of the year. Because we truly haven't seen anything like this in a long, long time. M-Pen going to work at Frenzy Fields, and even when Bilo was taken out, still made things happen and continuing. Even after the fact there, Curly didn't see it coming and so punished, and so now M-Pen will pick up the reboot, and Bilo will be able to play the game once more.
M-Pen and Bilo, they need to get as many points as possible. They need to follow it up with a Week 3 performance as well, and that's just kind of the dangers that the format gives out to some of these players. There's no chance for mistakes, no safety net in Surge Week. You don't get top 50. It's as simple as you don't make grand finals. But over to Rise and User, who've taken first place back after that Game 5, lasting long into the end game overall, even though they didn't end up victorious. It's all about consistency over 6 games. You can see them chopping down the tree. We talked about their surge plan and how they get it very, very early on. They don't rotate far off of their drop splat to get everything that they need for their game.
User and Rise are the only Week 1 winners to win a game in Week 2 finals across all regions. Last week we saw some one-hit wonders apparently, but these guys are the real deal. They are megastars. Hit after hit it seems, and might just win another week back to back. That would be something, wouldn't it? Liquid and Cold though, having some struggles.
If they can achieve that, that'll be huge. Booga and Threads continuously rotating from the southern portion of the map. Now find some struggles here at Mega City where so many teams begin to battle it out. And this is where he's looking around every single corner. You see how dangerous it is. Shots coming from all directions. Finally reunites with Threats yet again. Slap Juice is coming out. Even gets a refresh on those slashes to try to keep himself going. Not a ton of HP and shields until now. And this is where they're going to try to find their footing in this fight yet again.
Pars and Baka, another one of those teams vying for the first place sweepstakes. Almost some nice piece control there from Pars if he was able to box him in. But it doesn't matter because the LM will still come anyway. Bryce will fall.
That Mammoth upgrade. That's scary. Grabs him on his ankles, make sure he doesn't escape the box. Now gets a huge upgrade. Pars feeling comfortable now that he has his teammate back. But second place here. Agers and Kanata, they've been doing consistent work throughout the day to get to this point. 2 different games they battled for high ground. Only one of them they were able to pick up the VR, but it shows their consistency to go for that high ground. Battle offers, they're trying to push that team back. They built themselves a long tunnel. OMG Me Too might have got into the wrong box. There's where Kanata's building even more real estate. And this is where it's going to get dangerous for OMG Me Too and POW. Paper's on the other side. A lot of players in close proximity with the potential third party as Kanata gets all that loot he was looking for in the first place.
Nice shotgun upgrade as well.
Even leaves back a good shotgun there for a moment. So if anybody goes, because you see a lot of players go into these boxes where they know caches were kind of boxed up on and they try to scavenge together. If anybody goes into that box, they're going to find at least some treasures that were left behind. And you can tell by Kanata and Age's rotation trying to go towards the south. The zone might be trying to center up, which is kind of good for a lot of the teams that are on the outskirts. As Bolt and Thork, they're getting a weapon cache of their own. Everybody at this stage in the game, as third zone does appear, that's when the caches spawn, and that's where teams like to use different tactics, from the mud to augment combinations to the rifts, to try to get there as quick as possible, box up, and just try to push these teams far out and not let them contest it.
Reboot comes through.
It's impressive the amount of times we've actually seen either Cold or Acorn get rebooted in these games and still end up with a top placement.
I was wondering where you're going with that one.
As well. You know, it's just one of those things to where typically if you're forced to get rebooted, history says it's not on your side. You know, and I'm not going up against history. And for Acorn and Cold, you know, it's impressive. They're kind of like matching in a way, even though they're not contested off the drop, the nature of Malibuca and Thomas and what they're doing with the adversity they're facing through their matches.
I would still be concerned at the amount of times they're having to be rebooted. But that's just because I'm far more pessimistic than you, Jacob.
I'm an optimist. Glass half full, because then you can drink more water. Mission. Osit. This is one of those patient plays. They know he's here by himself. High ground. Miss Mammoth on the first one, but the second one still drains the shields just like that. And this is where the Nightmare comes rolling in. Multiple angles being taken. He tries to drop a layer, but they're not letting him escape that easy. They dealt too much damage too early on to let 2 points escape him just like that. But he turns, burns. A huge shot being fired onto a Minish, but the multiple angles and the numbers game is just simply too much.
Minish doing the business. Threats going down in the feed. Oh dear, it's not been too great for Bluga and Threats so far. User running off right now. Where's Rise? Is the question. Okay, I see him. To the left. There's a team in between them.
Left.
Okay.
My team to the left, I'm just saying.
Are we at that point in the night?
I'll put it on pause just a little bit. I'll put it on pause. User and Rise, perfect rotation. Everybody knows where the mud is at, so you can kind of see them make it a part of every single one of their rotations. Rightfully so. Without mobility, it's almost a must. Kanata and Agers once again show the dangers of the Mammoth. The combination, 100. Oh, 3 straight shots onto Okus and Bucky, and they're going for Rift Island, business as usual.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it?
240 damage. And then you have Agers with the MK just making sure nobody survives. And just judging by the minimap, you can see Okus and Bucky, the only ones challenging that high ground, so it's not going to take them long to get back into the game. As we continue to look around, a lot of our teams that are positioned at the top of the leaderboard, Baka and Pars, doing a good job, but up until this point, Hoyo and Sphinx, they're the contenders in our top 3. Taco, how have they been faring as they try to rise up first?
Well, right now, the pressure is on, Jacob, because as far as our second and third place teams are concerned, Foyo, Sphinx, they've got a lot in terms of materials. Their builds are looking fully maxed out just about. And right now, the priority focus just seems to be on ensuring that they have their materials, their loot, their resources intact. And the same could honestly be said for Kanata and Aegis as well. We just saw Kanata piecing up some of the competition. It's almost seeming a little bit personal at this point with Kanata and that Mammoth pistol up against Bucky and Okus and the likes of other members in the lobby. But so far, so good. Whether or not these teams can close it out with a strong finish is the real question, because first place is still up for grabs.
Strong finishes is surely needed, especially since it wasn't as close. The 1-2 point differential that we had going into that fifth game. Now it's 11. Now it's 30. Even more so as we go down that leaderboard. So the more chance to kind of get those series points are going right out the window as long as our team survives. Reed's going to take down Thoric in the feed. Haven't seen too much of him, but better late than never, trying to pick up the points and the pace as well as Rise is separated. You see Pledge and 20 inching in on his position, but it's not going to back him down. The roles have switched. Rise is turning into the fragger of the group and just taking names left and right. Now Pledge is left by himself, and with those mythic flapjacks, no time's going to be wasted getting into the box.
Yeah, I've said it many times, man. That mythic flapjack, like when you are forcing your way into box with that, it is just devastating, man. Absolutely devastating. Reet and Ritual in a bit of a pickle here. But one they're making good work of. Ritual does fall, but Reet was there to respond to bolts.
Just trying to see exactly where they're positioned at on the leaderboard in terms of Reet and Ritual. About 30th place, so there's still room for them to kind of move up the leaderboards, gather those series points. That's what everybody here is fighting for. Some more than others in terms of total quantity. Some players here on the day are fighting for that qualification here in week 2 due to the amount of series points they've been able to get in week number 1, but Cold in the feed is going to get dropped. One of those possible teams trying to fight for it if they can finish here at the top of the leaderboard is Acorn being stuck by himself. They've already rebooted each other once in this game so far. So I could finally see what you're saying about the worries of that reboot, the consistency of it happening. But at least both of these players are extremely skilled. They can get out of every tough scenario at a moment's notice. Acorn trying to go on the offensive as a solo. Not scared to back down from any fight. Taking control of a lot of the real estate towards the low ground. That way he can move in and out of these covers effortlessly, even with a flapjack. Trying to cause the destruction. Acorn takes a huge tag. Back-to-back shots. They finally go down. And that means the top of the leaderboard is open for the taking.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough way to see a team that's so impressive go out. But like Vivid said, I feel like they know they are qualified for the grand finals after the way they've performed in the past 2 weeks. I think for them, it's more about having fun and just playing loose in the last couple games. And that at least allowed them to get an early night. Log off a bit earlier, hit the hay.
Get a little early dinner. At least they can kind of relax, watch it all unfold, maybe even take notes about what some of these other teams are doing. Duke looks like he's going to try to survive as a solo. Very little opportunity, even if he has the reboot card, to get Edgy back into the game. So interesting to see how they finish this one off. As we go back to look at some of the teams that are positioned at the top leaderboard, have a chance to and us all proud. That's why I keep mentioning it. A lot of people didn't give him a ton of credit going to this. A lot of people didn't think the region could compete at the highest level, but I think there's a bunch of names that are consistently proving people wrong, and this is one of those teams. Well, that is one way to get an elimination. The kinetic ore into a team. That's Quanti goes down. Chimp right after. It actually gets stolen away. It looked like Baka and Pars were going to get one, but Defiable with well-placed shots steals away those points. Unfortunately, all the loot is still going to go over to Baka and Pars and help their game as we're one team away from those placement points beginning to set in.
One team away, that's all it takes. And from there on out, every single thing you do is so crucial to allowing you to secure more and more of those placement points, right? Every one of these teams trying to outlast each other, and we know it's difficult. If you've watched these past 5 games, 6 games, you know just how tough it is to make it through to this stage of the game and even further than that. Frets and Booga had a bit of a hiccup along the way to get to this point, but nevertheless, still looking very strong right now. Way above on Surge, a ridiculous amount above on Surge. And plenty of loot to boot. Canada. Some nice shots being hit back to back. Go on, give us a third, give us a third. One more. Give us the hat trick.
So he's not only looking at players who are shooting, he's looking in the directions in which they're shooting at, and that's how he's able to find these cheeky shots. One of the furthest teams to zone already, and they waste no time trying to get there. The only other team making this quick rotation on the other side is going to be Okus and Bucky. And they're already positioning themselves on the side of that mountain. They're the gatekeepers for the rest of the lobby. But with so many players rotating this direction, they have so much flexibility, options, and who they want to target. It makes it where there might be a chance for somebody to sneak on by if the zone opens up.
Sinks and Poyo, no problems whatsoever. Never in doubt when it comes to getting to end games.
Trying to make this quick rotation. It's 500 above the damage threshold, so Storm Surge is not in a worry. Might be in the back of their mind, though. If the lobby does dwindle down quicker than they would expect, and if you see the rotation, almost looks like a clear rotation, especially with the lobby a little distracted. Even with Agers going down, he gets taken down by Defiable. Kanata is weak, so he's going to have to stabilize himself. No peeking for you as Poyo and Sphinx find themselves a little crevice on the edge of zone with some height. I like the position in which they're at, but now Kanata by himself. We talked about Agers just going down in the feed. If he wants to take first, he definitely has a mountain to climb, especially with Rise and User still at the top of the leaderboard.
Where will that first move in zone pool is the question. And how all the way to the south Frets. He's lost Boogas. I was talking about how stacked they were in terms of their loot and everything they had. And that's quickly all dwindled away. No materials really left and no teammate left for Frets. Kanada lining up another shot, potentially will pass peek out. No. Oh dear, the timing.
Tagged up high ground. That's a huge amount of damage at a position he doesn't want to be in, but almost a nice shot. 150 straight to the dome of Bucky. That's not going to stop him. They're able to get the Siphon right back up with now all the mats, but the first semblance of the high ground goes on over to Baka and Pars. They're a team that has a chance to win the entirety of Week 2 if they're able to hold on, but 9 already in so many games today, it get taken away because Night Zone might be a little too early.
Baka and Pars trying to close this game out in a way that they definitely know how to. We've seen them do it. User and Rise. We've not seen them soaring the skies of high ground. But to be fair, if you know Rise, he has always preferred to play down low. And so now they'll start to look up at some of those teams. Anyone that really looks weak, anyone that looks vulnerable, as they continue moving through these zones.
Yeah, they're trying to remain on the front side of the zone. They're trying to remain ahead of everybody else. Baka and Pars, they're going to have to go down and connect. That one's going to be solidified rather easy. Backside of the zone, though, Bucky's feeling the pressure. He actually gets knocked. Okus is now stuck by himself. You see Sphinx dealing out a lot of that damage over on the other side. That's Rise. That's Users in their line of sight. And they're continuously dropping down low. They're trying to clean up the Siphon, but Users gets dropped. Users goes down. Now it's all up to Rise. It doesn't look like he can get the revive. So now it's a solo trying to hold on to his position on the leaderboard.
User definitely didn't expect to go down. I didn't expect him to go down there. It felt like it was going to be an easy in. And that leaves a world of trouble for Rise to try and carry the team on his back. Sphinx and Pollo, though, down below, they're continuing the work Rise and User were doing, taking people out on the low ground.
There's only a few points left before first place is overtaken. Kanata and Agers are down already. Sphinx and Pollo, they want to taste that victory as well. It's not enough that they have their global championship spot. They want to make sure that they're prepared to take it all at the end of the day. Rise still struggling as a solo. Very little builds left, but he's trying to break through and recycle as much as he can. Even on the other side, the other team in that top three, Baka and Pars, once again reinforce their high ground, making sure it's going to take a lot and a lot of effort if they're going to get chopped down.
All these hills and old builds to move through has meant they haven't really been able to get involved in the midst of the action and all the fighting that's been going down below. But when the time does come to drop, they will be ready, and they will be much stronger than anybody else left in this lobby. Pollo trying his best not to get back into the zone. And a couple bandages in inventory. I don't think he'll use them, though. The slurp will get him back up past 75 HP in no time. But no materials left means he is going to have to force his way into this duo. And unfortunately, they might just be waiting for him. You can see them there on the other side of this wall. As soon as he breaks it, it could be his demise. He falls back to try change up the angle a bit. But they are not going to take the bait. Pollo will fall. And so now the final 2v2 between Paper Muds and Baka and Pars.
This is a chance for Baka and Pars to try to solidify this one with 2 VRs on the day and a chance at first. Paper gets dropped. Baka's ready to finish the game, but his HP is low. He needs the siphon. Slap Splash is coming out as well, doing a good job staying alive and going around the block to take down Muzz as well. They get their second victory on the day.
Calm and collected. Did not miss a beat. The siphon at the end there was so crucial. You saw him instinctively go for the body. And that siphon kept him in the game long enough to be able to hit that final shot. Otherwise, it may have been wraps. But Baka and Pars pick up another one.
Right there was big. Baka Spartan down. Paper with the mythic tactical pistol. That one looked easy. And there goes that siphon you were talking about. Because the slap splashes, in theory, while you're in zone, only really heal 5 HP. If he didn't get that siphon, he was going to go down. And that would have been a tough 1v1 for Pars to try to survive. But nonetheless, 2 VRs on the day for the team that's formerly from NA West, really rising up the ranks.
Impressive day from that team for sure. Again, continuing to solidify themselves as one of the top teams now in NA Central. Right now that everything is combined. Look, it's been a great day of action from me and you, Jacob. I've enjoyed every single moment of it. Let's send it back to Zeke and the boys to wrap up the day.
Thank you guys so much. 2 victory royales from Baka and Pars. 9 eliminations to boot. Ooh. You can bet those standings will be shaken up, and we'll get to that in just a moment because, man, we just have to give a big congratulations to Baka and Pars. I kind of touched on this like a little bit. You know, there's duos that maybe start the day a little slow, but the moment they kick it into gear, they find that groove, that rhythm. They can really put in effort. They can find themselves climbing those standings, and it looks like for Baka and Pars, they did just that.
I mean, finding the high ground here, it's just going to be the classic way to end the day for this team. And their match history is kind of insane. I mean, they got a 42nd place and a 32nd place in games 2 and 5. But when they made it into the end game, they did not place outside of top 5. So if they could, fix up those little mistakes they made in those 2 games, oh my gosh, this is a team to watch.
Yeah, this is a very, very dangerous duo. The way they're taking high ground, the way they're actually using those mobility or the builds to take their way into that end game and make sure that they close out the game with success, that shows experience, that shows skill, that shows talent. This is a team that I'm very, very excited to see going forward into these grand finals. Of course, hopefully for them, they should have made it in, but I'm excited to see them perform.
Well, let's see about the here and the now. Let's take a look at those standings. Let's see how things were going. Now, we know Baka and Pars were in 4th place going into that game. They will climb up a single spot. However, User Rise. Now, in case you know, User is Iamzo, but for the purpose of this, we'll call him User for now. They have held down that #1 spot, only getting dethroned, I believe, 1 time, Vivid. But man, to end the day, remember, this is a duo that missed qualifying for Globals in a major number 1. So they need to make it to grand finals, and they still need to punch that ticket to globals.
You know, we can talk about today as much as we really want because the performance was outstanding. And, you know, we can see that on the leaderboard. They got first place. But let's talk about the overall. I mean, you win week 1 and week 2 of these weekly finals. And then, you know, coming in, we talked about how strong we thought this duo was going to do. But then there were some question marks, right? Oh, they're going to be contested all spawn. How's that going to fare? 5-0, Mini?
I mean, 6-0. I'm going to give him 6-0.
Okay.
Why not? You know, enjoy it. Because that has just answered all of our questions. As you said, we had a few questions about can they actually survive? Can they actually manage when there's a team contesting them? And I mean, so far, that's not a bad showing, is it? Coming first place in both weeks, while contested and uncontested. Today, I think we just saw their strategy perfectly played out. We broke it down at the beginning of the show. They've done it game after game. Of course, there was a couple of games where they had a little bit of an unfavorable situation. One of them was left as a solo in the end game, so they need to fix those. They need to fix those situations, those problems, but I have no doubts this is a duo that we'll be seeing in the Global Championships because the way they're playing,
I guess my question is, Castle Split, is it theirs? Is that it? Is it theirs? Is no one else wanting to compete? Because as these performances have shown, the answer should probably be no, but we'll have to see if another duo wants to step up and say, listen, we're not going to let you have that for free. We kind of come back to the standings here. Pollo and Sphinx, they actually already are through to globals, but they're still looking to make it to grand finals. They still want to push the envelope and really treat it like they are already there, right? If they can continue to sharpen themselves when they have to go up against the other 5 regions at globals, they want to be ready, Vivid.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked about the consistency of Baka and Pars when they actually made it into the end game. And, you know, Polo and Sphinx had an incredible average placement of just 9 throughout the day, which was actually only beaten out by Yamza and Rise. So they were very, very consistently making it into the later parts of the game. And that's really good to see in these weekly finals.
I mean, when they're making it into top 10, they're getting a third, a first, and a second. So, I mean, they've just completed it in the end game, which is great to see. We just need to see them make those end games a little bit more consistently. Of course, the 3 games that they had that weren't quite as favorable, that weren't inside of that top 10, they just struggled to get those crucial refreshes that they couldn't, of course, use going into that top 10. So, a few little mistakes, a few little things to tweak, and this is definitely a duo that I'm excited to see.
I love it. And, of course, I wanted to highlight our duo in 4th place there. It is Kanata and Agers. We began the day with an interview with Kanata. And of course, Kanata, in case you know, he's a pretty confident guy, but he has the skill to back that confidence. Look at these disgusting headshots with a mammoth pistol. He said, and I quote, "If I'm pretty good with it. So if I get it, I'm sure I'm going to land some big hits." And sure enough, we saw it time and time again today.
Yeah, I mean, we highlighted Thomas over on EU, and I feel like Kanata is going to be the highlight of the day when it comes to the Mammoth pistol because, I mean, these shots, you could just see it in the Storm Surge damage alone. I mean, 1,200 above with only 1 elimination. It's all Kanata.
But he's only pretty good, by his own words. He's only, I mean, bro, if that's pretty good, I don't know what amazing is because he is showing his aim is top notch right now and they're making it to those end games well. I'm excited to see if they can continue that, of course, as well because they had a few hiccups today going into the end game, but this is a duo that are coming back to their prime and I'm excited to see it.
What a fantastic day of showing here in NA. But it is that time. We have an interview lined up for all of you at home. That's right. We're going to get to talk to the man of the hour. It is none other than User, a.k.a. Iamzo. Now, Iamzo, I feel like we should just hang out at this point. I feel like we talk so much. Like, we're just friends now.
Yeah, just winning so much.
I guess that's all you know how to do, huh? It's just win them all. Well, congratulations. I don't know for how many times this is racked up at this point. Does this feel any different? Are you just like, another day at the office? Or are you like, nah, this feels good to get this win?
It definitely feels good to get this win because we were actually conned all 6 games and we 6-0'd them, so it definitely feels good to win all conned.
Yeah, that was a big switch up for you guys this week, of course, being conned. But speaking about the 6 games themselves, I saw you guys going for higher ground focus in games 1 and 2, but then towards the later half, it seemed like you guys liked the low ground. Was that something you guys decided to do on the fly, or was that like a planned thing?
We had like a plan going into each game, but the first 2 games we were able to play high, and then the last games, like we obviously went lower layers.
That's great to hear. Now, of course, game 3 and 4, you guys didn't quite have the best games. What happened? Talk me through. Of course, I think it was one of you guys left as a solo in both of those games. What went wrong? What are you going to try and fix for next week?
To be honest, those two like dud games, it was like that was a small mistake that shouldn't have happened, to be honest. But yeah, we know our mistake.
I see. So, okay, let's talk about Global Championships. You guys had just missed out by a single placement. And now you can just tell that fire is lit. You guys are ready to push yourselves to the very limits. Right now, if you were to just go to Globals, let's say Globals was tomorrow, do you feel like you guys are ready to take on these other regions on a LAN setting? Or is there maybe just a couple things you guys feel like you want to shore up before you go that far?
Globals tomorrow, I definitely think we could win. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, Yamzo is a man of few words. Hey, listen, I appreciate the confidence, and you again, you're just one of the best. That's why that's why you have these conversations so often. Yamzo, if there's fans out there who are seeing this for the first time, they're like, this guy is cracked. Where can they find you?
My Twitter is just Yamzo1. Yeah, that's where you could find me.
Fantastic. Well, hey, man, huge congratulations again. I don't know how many more this makes. I'm sure we'll talk again in the near future. And, of course, we look forward to seeing you next week for week number 3.
Thank you.
Yamzo. Again, he's a man of few words, but just check the skill, check the math, check the data, and see who's in that number 1 spot. Yamzo and Rise are a fearsome duo indeed. Man, guys, I'm just excited, I think, for week number 3. My question becomes, can they keep this momentum going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they really only got better this week. You know, the biggest hurdle from week 1 to week 2 is the fact that they were contested this week, and that was literally no problem. So I don't see why they couldn't take home week 3.
I'm a little bit nervous as to whether other teams that did contest them or are planning on contesting them maybe might try and find a way around their drop spot strategy. So maybe we'll see a few changes going into next week. It's something definitely to keep your eye on.
Absolutely. Well, that is pretty much it for us this week. I know we want to watch more Fortnite, talk more Fortnite, see crazy headshots. But that is it for the weekend. When are we back? It is next weekend, Major 3, week 3. There we go. Couple key things here, okay? So obviously, next weekend we'll be back with EU and NA. Grand Finals, though, August 12th and 13th. Make sure you don't miss out on that. That is going to be an initial spot, a couple spots there going to Global Championships. If duos can place high, they can claim those spots. They're good to go. Next stop is Globals. However, that next key date, August 20th, this is the last chance major, and just as the name suggests, this will be the final opportunity to earn spots to the Global Championships. We'll discuss more of that when the time comes, but for right now, we pretty much have to say goodbye. And speaking of Globals, don't forget, tickets are still available, so if you want to go, check this out. This is the Global Championship.
The best players in the world all battling it out.
Insane matches already today.
These are the moments that make these players championship material.
One chance to make it happen, and they take it by force.
It is going to be absolutely insane.
Global Championships not that far away. We hope to see you guys there because it is going to be absolutely insane. You can tell I've said that a lot. I have. Gentlemen, before we wrap up the day, is there any closing thoughts from you two?
NA was really, really fun. I mean, the weekend overall was really, really fun. We saw some crazy highlights. I feel like NA adapted to the hype meta. I saw a lot more takes. And, you know, overall, thanks to everybody hanging out with us. And shout out to Minnie for pushing through that voice of yours.
Yeah, we just about got through. Just about. But, of course, I was really impressed with a lot of these teams today. Some of our top-tier teams. I mean, some of the plays have been crazy. The Mammoth plays have been unbelievable as well. A lot of the times, I was left speechless.
Literally. Well, he did it. Fortnite fam, thank you guys so much. This is not possible without all of you, so we appreciate y'all hanging out, watching these games, getting hype with us. We truly appreciate it. Of course, big shout outs to our casters, 11-2K, Jacob PR, our mid-game analyst, the best Taco, these guys, Vivid and Mini Miner. And don't forget, we are back next week with more action from the FNCS. Don't forget, Legends Landing, Terminator, all up in the Fortnite games. So make sure you check all of those out. Until next time, we hope you have a fantastic week. We love you. Keep yourself safe. And we'll see you on that Battle Bus.